Howdy guys, so it's been a while since I've done a video for this channel. What can I say, February and January have been pretty rough months here at home. Everybody's just been sick, worst cases of the flu we've all had, but I think we're ready to get back in shape and get back to doing these reviews. And actually, funny enough, I came back to this channel sometime around Christmas, and I wasn't doing reviews again. I was kind of doing more essay-style videos, lists, stuff I don't normally do for reviews. So this is kind of my return to form, my first review since summer. And I'm going to do something just a little bit different for this review.
Keepers of forgotten rights, last like shadows on the walls. The clockwork angel giving life, the court conceals them all. The sky calls to us, we'll answer when the time is right.
So, I'm reviewing two albums by a band called Tanagra. Now, you might not have heard of this band. I certainly hadn't before this. They are a power progressive metal band from Portland, Oregon, and they were recently involved in a bit of a scandal, I guess if you were. They have been targeted by a Swiss company called Nagra something or other. I don't remember the other name, but for trademark violation. Now, Nagra and Tanagra are very different names, and I don't understand the context by which they're suing Tanagra. It's kind of a stupid, frivolous thing, but anyway, Tanagra found themselves unable to continue under their name, or at least they're fighting for it now. They do have pro bono representation from a lawyer in their region, but in the event that they would have to give up their name and their live performances until they change it, they were selling all of their merch at basically liquidation prices. I bought both of their albums on Bandcamp, on CD, for roughly $3 each. They had them marked at a minimum of $1. So I have both of them here. None of this is real. Their debut album, released in 2015, and last year they put out an album called Meridian. So I'm going to be reviewing, or at least talking about, both of these records today. I guess in a way you could say I'm kind of reviewing this band's entire discography, since this is both of their records. On their first album, None of This Is Real, I found that the record was just kind of a little bit all over the place in terms of song structures, riffs, melodies. It seemed very raw and very unpolished compared to perhaps, some more seasoned power metal bands. They focus a little bit more on the power metal aspect on that record. I couldn't really think of any truly standout material on their first record. The final track on the record, The Path to Talmor, is epic length, 12.5-minute long track that really kind of draws the whole album together, and some very good fast-paced power metal stuff, lots of great solos. The vocal style is a little bit different from what you might be used to in a power metal band. It's not quite as gruff and not quite as high. It's a little bit more in a sort of mid-range. It's almost as if you have someone like the vocalist of The Contortionist singing in a power metal group. But the real treat here is the band's second record, Meridiem, which is quite honestly one of the better power prog albums I've heard in a long time. I don't normally care so much about the power prog mix. I go about as far as bands like Camelot and Seventh Wonder for that, but there aren't too many bands that I find taking on this sound in a way that I really find interesting anymore. To me, power prog is just very kind of old-fashioned. It's very, we want to sound like Dream Theater circa scenes from a memory, but with a little bit of Symphony X in it. And I find that what the band did on Meridian is a little bit different. It's a little bit more laid back. There isn't so much use of power metal chugging, although it's still there in tracks like The Hidden Hand. There's still some really good vocal melodies and not as many high parts as you might expect in a power metal band. The title track is very epic. There's at least 3 songs on this record that exceed the 10-minute mark, and a lot of the other ones are also fairly long as well. So, if you're into more progressive song structures, more, Dream Theater-esque kind of stuff, Meridium is the album to go for. This record as a whole is really great. I can say Etheric Alchemy is probably my favorite track on this record. It's absolutely stunning from front to back. And just the whole album is just really top quality. About the only downside I can think of on this record is the album's final track, Witness. It is a good track, but it's about 14 minutes long, and it kind of gets a little bit meandering. It kind of meanders in a way similar to the band's first record, and it does plod on a little bit. By the end of the track, which is the end of the album, you're kind of like, okay, that was a thing. You're not disappointed having heard it, but it does kind of just drag on a little bit too long. You keep waiting for it to end, and it takes its sweet time doing it. But overall, I think both of these records are really good. The first one, it's a bit more of a, if you're really more into power metal, pick that one up. It is really good, but it does kind of meander. It's not as refined as Meridium. Meridium is definitely a more refined record. It's one that really shows that the band grew a lot from their first record. And, I mean, listening to both of these albums back to back like I did the last couple of days, I really did find that it was very easy to tell the growth and development of this band just from these 2 records. So, yeah, I mean, wonderful records. And just knowing the story, it's sort of a tragic story that this band is being targeted by a company that's much larger than them, and for no real good reason. There's no trademark dispute from Tanagra to the Swiss company Nagra. They're different names. In fact, Tanagra is a reference to a Star Trek episode, and I don't see CBS knocking on their door. So there's something a little suspect about a company going out of their way to sue such a small band from Oregon that is really just trying to make their way through this clusterfuck we call the music industry. It is kind of sad that they're having to go to measures of liquidating their merch in order to just sustain themselves as a band, or maybe even just pay the bills. It's a really sad story, and I had never even heard this band before, and I bought their CDs just to show my support, and I'm absolutely glad I did that. Now, even though the band is now successfully able to fight these charges, they're still keeping the 2 albums up on Bandcamp under their liquidation prices, and I strongly recommend, if you can, pick them up. I think the digital album is free on a name-your-price basis, so, no risk, just go download it. But even if you want to have the physical CD, I mean, they're a minimum of $1 right now. $1 plus shipping for a CD of a band that's this great. No-brainer, in my opinion. Anyway, sorry for the shorter, less detailed review than I normally do. This is just kind of me dipping my toes back into it. As you can see, I'm trying a new desk setup, a new vantage point. I'm hoping to make a few upgrades to this setup in the future. And I hope to do more reviews like this again. I still am planning to do one for the new Sons of Apollo record, which that came out recently. I think I'm going to get to that sometime soon. I'm going to be seeing Devin Townsend, Haken, and The Contortionist in Toronto next week with my good friend Shane, who you've seen in a couple of videos of mine, and Notes Reviews, who runs a very successful prog metal YouTube review channel as well. kind of my inspiration for getting into this game. So I hope to shoot some video of that while I'm there so that you guys can all enjoy our trip. Anyway, thank you for watching.